A Fitness Today presents the AFT International Sports and Fitness Festival at Port Panthers, November 4th and 5th. There are health talks, youth activities, a bazaar, a walk for good, and lots more. Entry is free. For more details, go to sportsfitnessfestival.com.
All right, so we've got some familiar faces and we've gone through 2 workshops. We've looked at stacking, having the foundations right first, right? So do you remember what we actually talked about in the first workshop?
Protein.
Yes. Okay.
Pretty protein.
Yeah. So before I did that, I meant to introduce myself. So my name is Torres. I'm a pharmacist, a health coach, and a podcaster of the Enlightened Pharmacist. Okay. So I have a bit of history in terms of my family history of type 2 diabetes, and led me to a journey of understanding chronic disease and how I can apply strategies to help myself and my clients to actually prevent chronic disease and to optimize health with science-backed strategies. So today we're actually going to put everything together. We've stacked 3 plus 3, and today is the icing on the cake. We have the 3 on food and symptom. So how many of us have got signs and symptoms that we normalize? A headache here, aches and pains. It could be after a workout in the gym, or could it be something else? So our body can be very talkative. It can tell us when things are not 100%. And when we ignore it, we've learned today about the continuum of disease, that if we actually continue with this inflammation cascade, this forest fire becomes a worldwide fire, and then you have the debris and the scarring, and it has that point of no return. Yeah, but this is a good news story, right? Because with Natasha Bedingfield, she said that today is when you actually start, when your book is unwritten, and we can start from today onwards. Is that okay? Okay. Alrighty.
Positive.
Okay. So from my family history, because of my grandfathers, they both had consequences of type 2 diabetes. So my father's side, he had a stroke, and he was actually bedridden for the rest of his life. Okay, so we want to see how we can actually keep that at bay. And so I've done some research to help us stack. I've got 24 strategies, and I've dug out like the top 9 that's going to help us have the foundations, and we can stack up and improve our health. So we know that prevention is better than cure, and now we know why. Okay. Let's have a recap. And then we're going to go through 3 of the top food triggers that my clients have seen a big difference. And sometimes if it doesn't, why is that so? And what's the underlying reason for disease? So we're going to unpack that as well. Okay. So today's session is very interactive. Okay. So my friends here are going to help me. So I've got Phil, Ula from Port Macquarie. Okay. And then we have
Vanessa.
Yep.
Chris.
Yep. From? Yeah. So we've got Australia versus country, as well as you at home there as well. So welcome. I'm glad you can join us today. Okay. All right. Moving on. Quick quiz. Protein target. How much protein do we need to get target per meal?
30.
Yay. Okay. Yeah. So 25 to 30 grams is how much the research tells us is required to build muscle. Okay. So if you were to eat like chicken, how much chicken would be about 30 grams, do you think?
The chicken clothes.
Yeah.
Chicken. Maybe the leg chicken. 300 grams.
Yeah, so a bit more. It's not weight for weight, right? So if we go into a tracking app, so I'm going to go through some resources that you can take home and then use it, and so you can actually strategize for your health. So chronometer, what you do is you put in whatever food you're eating and the weight, and it'll tell you. So 100 grams of chicken breast is about 30 grams of protein. So that's about enough for your muscle synthesis. Yeah.
Is that the raw chicken or the cooked?
Excellent. Do you eat raw or do you eat cooked chicken? Yes. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question for you.
Okay. All right, on this side, New South Wales. Okay, Port Macquarie against Sydney. All right. So Sydney, hydration. Okay. How much water do you need to drink? Yes, so then
Minimum 2 liters.
it's a good round figure, but individualize. How do you personalize? 10 glass? Anything else? What would you look at? No, Port Macquarie, got any ideas on what you're going to look at? Yes. Okay. What's a good color? What do you aim for? Yes. Very good. Excellent. So we have a urine chart that we discussed where they look at athletes, and we can tell that because we all have different requirements depending on the weather. If you're in Sydney and Port Macquarie, different, and your weight and what your activity is as well. Because Phil is a super athlete. He does tennis, swimming, cycling, and weights as well. Okay. So the aim of the game is to have your color of your wee. I hope you don't mind me talking about the wee. I think we can friends, say we can talk about bodily fluids. Okay. So light yellow or straw color. Yeah. And you ignore your first wee because it's after an overnight fast of food and beverage, so it's going to be dark. So we can skip that one. Okay. All right. Next one. Okay. I think one to one now with New South Wales and Port Macquarie. All right. Next one, is about sleep, right? Why is sleep important?
You organize your memory.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Rest and recovery is important, isn't it? So we know that inadequate sleep is a risk factor for dementia. So brain health is important. So like, bonus points because brain health and sleep is correlated. Yes. So what is the ideal room temperature for sleep?
I think it's 20, 23 and 21 to.
Yeah, true. So 18, 20 degrees is good because you want it to be a bit lower for help your body to wind down, right? Okay. How many hours is what the studies show us? Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good. Okay. So 2, 1.5. Okay. Next question. Eating window. All right, eating window. Yes. Come on, Port Macquarie, what's happening here? Sydney is actually getting all the marks. All right. Bonus points if you can tell me what happens when you eat within the 10-hour window. Yeah, so you have housekeeping more, and then when housekeeping happens, you have less weight control because when you are sleep deprived, your hungry hormones come out to play. Yeah, so there are studies that people who have less than 5 hours are highly more prone to obesity. So sleep can help you, regulate your weight as well. And the other indicators is your blood pressure and your sugar regulation. So if you get enough sleep, you can regulate your hormones and have good weight control, as well as your blood pressure and your sugar, which is one of the food triggers that we're going to be diving deep into as well. Okay, best time to exercise.
30 minutes.
Excellent. Yep.
Morning, afternoon, and night.
Yes, very good. So you want to split it 10 minutes 3 times a day. So within 30 minutes after eating, that's ideally to regulate your blood pressure, your sugar.
I've always learned that the best should be at least an hour so you process your food.
Yes. So if you go into the gym and you're doing a heavy workout, you want to have your protein, and most of the time, it takes a while for it to actually get into the system because you want your raw material to exercise. So that's before like a high workout. But if you're trying to regulate your blood pressure, your sugar, and your weight, then that's the studies for within 30 minutes of eating of exercise. Yeah. So it depends on the context that we're looking at. Then we can actually apply these principles. But well done. I think it's a tie. So 3, Sydney versus Port Macquarie. Okay. All right. Next one, addictive foods. Okay. Look, I have to give Sydney this because that is the secret sauce. It's the dynamic duo. Okay. Bonus points, Port Macquarie. Can you tell me why? Why is fat and sugar the secret sauce for addictive foods? Yes. So it's palatable. The fat brings the taste. And the second point, so it's mostly refined carbohydrates. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So yes, Ulla.
Yeah.
Exactly. The roller coaster ride. Fabulous. Okay, that's great. So with addictive foods, now we're more aware. We've drawn the curtain. Chris highlighted it's about palatability, the fat, and then it's also the immediate release of the sugar hit. So it's refined carbohydrates that's found in white flour and sugar. So that is the secret sauce.
Word.
All right. This is going to be the sort of the tiebreaker. Okay. Waist circumference. How much would you recommend for men of Caucasian descent? Men. Yep. So about less than 94. Very good.
The woman 80. And
Yeah. Yep.
80.
Excellent. Very good. Oh my goodness. Somebody's been listening.
Like now when I read done, I think now I'm 90.
Yeah.
And I look,
Oh. Okay. So now it's a tie. It's a tie. One more question. If you are of Southeast Asian descent and you're male, it was a trick question. So it's the same for 90 centimeters. 90 centimeters. Sorry. What did you say? Yes, for Caucasian, it's 99. Yeah, it's excellent. Yes, so there's a difference with our genetics and also our cultural background. And so the World Health Organization has adjusted it for ethnic differences as well, because we've got different bone structure and backgrounds as well. Okay, are you guys ready for so we've done 7 of the 9, and so we just have a little bit more to go. Okay. All right. So with your health questionnaire, have you completed questions 9 and 10? Okay. So for those of you at home, I've put in the chat box for you to access it. Go to the Sports Festival website. The QR code is just right at the back of me. And go under More, and then under Feedback, you find there's the health questionnaire. And I also appreciate it if you can actually complete the feedback form. For this one, it's our workshop number 3. So feedback form number 3, so I can improve this workshop for you. Okay? So the questions are, number 9, what makes you sick? When I say sick, what makes you feel bloated? Give you a bit of gas? Constipation? Excellent.
because after Ramadan, we have festival. Because a lot of food, I want to eat everything. So, because there's only one chance to eat, satay, gulai, and everything. I want to eat more. I don't want to miss out. And then I feel sick.
So remember that cycle of food addiction, right? When you actually feel deprived and then you kind of binge, and then after that it becomes like a shame, and then sort of like that cycle. Okay? So consistency is key. Yeah. Yes. And slowly as well. Sometimes after the fast, we don't want to again put everything in the body because it's has to again re-kick the engine, restart the engine. So it takes a while. Slow and steady wins the race. And that's the key thing, and that's why we unpack about the fasting as well. Remember, if you eat all the time, then your mitochondria, which is the cell that converts the food to energy, is overstressed and overworked. And if you get 24-hour access to food, so our poor mitochondria, has the capacity to again convert the food to energy. It goes on strike. And my podcast guest, Dr. Matthew Phillips, he's a brain neurologist, brain specialist in Waikato in New Zealand, has found a lot of amazing results just by fasting and giving your mitochondria a chance to actually reset. And that's when actually can reverse a lot of the symptoms, and that's conditions like Alzheimer's dementia, Parkinson's disease, even brain cancer, because it's all about how much we stress and inflammation we exert on our body. Okay, and question 10 is quite important, And a lot of times when I ask these 2 questions, these are the questions I ask my clients. They can tell me straight off what foods make them sick. Okay. So a lot of times when I ask that question, they tell me that bread is a bit of a problem, white bread in particular.
And sugar is very hard to avoid.
Yeah. So in fact, your body already knows what's makes you sick. It's about asking the right questions to bring it all up. Okay. So I'll give you, if you all completed the questionnaire, you know how you've got your 9 and 10 completed. Okay, so I hope at home as well, you've got the questions 9 and 10. All right. So food trigger number 1, and no surprise, is sugar. Even Vanessa's like highlighted when has too much sugar. The Gula Melaka story, right? How did you feel?
I was stressed because too much for me.
Yeah.
I try, that cup, I don't want to buy sugar at all. But sometimes, like, when I eat things, I want to eat more because I want to, like, 2 bowl malaka.
Yeah. So that's amazing because you've got a strategy to actually prevent you being tempted and have the whole food addiction cycle. Phil, also, you had a strategy as well. Like, you don't really keep these foods at home. And, yeah. No sweet biscuits, yeah.
No soft drink,
Yeah.
no chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If I buy them, I eat them.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yep. Because to them.
Yeah. All the foods you've highlighted, they have the secret sauce, right? It rewires our brain and it really affects our addiction part of the brain. So it's
Should you put a sticker on the fridge? No chocolate. Remember, if you eat chocolate.
They always put it in the front of the aisle, like when you pay, put all the chocolates in.
Now, what is talking about? And very often a bit hungry also. At home, don't try to put a lot of chocolate and soft drink. I think you should put a sticker on it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not chocolate today.
When you open the fridge, you read see tangerines and apples and carrots.
Yes, we should try. Yeah.
very nicely done. So
Listened to something the other day that I thought was quite clever. It was not to ask yourself, what do I want to eat? Instead, you should ask, what does my body want? And then you get a different answer. And sometimes you might be able to pick a better choice.
it's all about asking the right questions. So when you ask yourself what your body wants, what does it want, Ola?
Healthy would be able to.
The body knows. Your body knows what is important to you and what you need to eat. So I have chickens in my backyard, and they never overeat.
The chicken?
Yeah. So whenever I give them like feed and I give them like kitchen scraps, like when they've had enough, they've had enough, because they have an automated feeder where they can just help themselves. It's never empty. Yeah. So you can learn a lot from chickens. That
I learn from you.
Yeah. And the second thing is they know when to sleep. So when it's dark, no matter what, they go to bed. And that's what we learn with our sleep when we have the detoxification. And Ula was mentioning the brain function, the memories and the consolidation. So look, yeah, if the chickens can do it, do you think that humans can do it? Okay. So sugar is bad with for our body because of inflammation. So when you can cook up sugar and heat it up, so that's the same as us. We're about 40 degrees. We put the sugar in, it becomes caramel and it becomes sticky. And that's why
The body. Oh, I see.
I can use the same temperature, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
40 degrees.
Can you repeat again?
37, 40 degrees, like, yeah.
So, we put the sugar and you cook it. And it just becomes caramel slice. And it's with.
And then when you keep it for a long time, what happens?
Yeah, because and then you put it in the fridge, it becomes like lard.
Yeah. So that's what's happening to sugar. It's like shards of glass, and it can affect, all your vital organs. That's why we see blindness. The kidneys, kidney disease is very prevalent in people with type 2 diabetes, as well as your nerve endings, because everything sticks together. Eyes as well, right? Yeah. Okay. So women with sugar, unfortunately, it increases risk of wrinkles and belly fat. And the whole biology of cravings, we've learned the roller coaster ride. When you have that drop and then dip, then you want some more to get up, and then it just becomes a vicious cycle. And we know that if you have too much sugar, they've had mood swings in participants, as well as being hangry. Has anyone felt hangry recently? You know how when you've eaten something, and then 30 minutes later, it feels like you didn't actually eat it because there's a bit of a hole in the gut. So that's when you've eaten something that is got a high glycemic load. It goes up and it goes down really fast. So we want something always in balance. Okay. So how do we do that? So we keep desserts as treats. You know that. Okay? I recommend about a quarter teaspoon of a sweetener per meal. Okay? So a quarter of a teaspoon is minimal. And if you have to have sugar, I would avoid artificial for all the reasons we've discussed. With type 2 diabetes, it stuffs up your food, sort of like sugar mechanism, that even though it's sweet, you don't really feel fulfilled after eating it. Thus, it can affect your microbiome, which is your gut, like living organisms that control a lot of things. Okay? And if you were to choose something sweet, I normally go with something that's nutrient dense, like raw honey, because if you just have table sugar, it's processed sugar, and there's no nutrients at all. Okay?
So is honey not that good for you?
So obviously it's going to end up as sugar, and then from sugar it becomes fat. So too much of a good thing is bad. But if you have to have something sweet, right? If you had a choice and you quarter teaspoon, whether you use refined sugar versus raw honey, because refined sugar, it really is dead weight. You have to digest it, and you don't get anything except calories out of it. But with the raw honey, you've got the enzymes, you've got all the vitamins and minerals. That
Which one?
raw honey is when it's not heated up, so they get straight from the beehive. That's probably ideal. So a lot of times they would put on the packet, it's raw honey. I see some supermarkets. Yeah. Do you guys
No, was expensive. Like, depends where you like it. Can be very expensive.
You just get and use the fairies berry.
States is also sort of like in our religion.
I can do
States pudding it's mentioned. This is so much.
It's amazing what we can learn from ancient tradition.
It cows in there too, so you can eat cow. And how?
All right. So if you had to choose, like on your plate, and you had carbs, vegetable, and meat, which one would you eat to regulate your sugar?
Of course, veggie.
Yep. And then,
With
yep. So veggies, meat, and then maybe the carbs. So you have a bit of a buffer. So that whole regulation of the sugar, there's already something there in the tummy. So it's not just sugar that's going to be digested. So when you have a mix, it's going to help with your sugar control and regulation. Fabulous. And bonus points, like what do you do after a meal? Yes. So at least for how long? 10 minutes.
10 minutes each. Sorry, 10 morning.
Yes, Vanessa, please clarify. Yeah. So if we split it, 10 minutes after each meal is ideal for sugar control.
It's quite easier to do than 30 minutes.
Just around stop. If 10 minutes, we can stay at home and walking around.
Exactly.
No problem.
Yeah, no
Go
problem.
up and down.
Yeah.
Oh, just go around the block.
Yeah, you can do whatever you feel like, Vanessa.
Going up and down is okay. As long as 10 minutes, okay. That's easy.
When my parents, when I was a child, I often went for a walk after dinner.
Oh, that's
No wonder.
we've lost that, isn't it? Yeah.
All the kids.
We go on walks to the convenience step now.
Yeah, that's right. Walk to the market.
Okay. So the second trigger that I promised that we're going to discuss is histamine. Okay, what do you know about histamine?
Not much. Well, it's
Exactly. So hay fever season, somebody pops a antihistamine because it reduces the histamine. And why do you need an antihistamine?
drink coke.
So lots of watery eye. So all the symptoms of hay fever, runny nose, sneezing, right? Yeah. So this can all be caused by mucus. So all these things, the body's trying to get rid of the pathogen or the bad bugs by releasing all these like fluids and bodily like mucus and that sort of thing. So histamine is a reaction or response to inflammation. The trigger could be pollen or some sort of pollution, whether it's bushfires or smoke. Yeah. So the thing is turns out that we have histamine receptors everywhere. So things like headaches, if you've got too much histamine, that's one of the signs and symptoms. For women, heavy menstrual bleeding. I've had clients who've had to have hysterectomies, and when you actually look at their medical history, they have a lot of, heavy menstrual bleeding, and we'll unpack as well how diet-wise we can actually reduce the histamine load, okay? So there's 4 different histamine receptors. It can affect the lungs, which we've discussed, the gut. So things like constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, when you got too much histamine, any of that can happen. As well as the brain, there's brain receptors. It can affect your neurotransmitters. So you mentioned headaches, as well as your circulatory system. So how fast your heart beats, it can all be affected by histamine. So all parts of the body cannot escape from histamine, okay? Even the skin. So we can get histamine from our diet. So histamine is a byproduct of bacteria degradation of food. So when they break down food, they will release histamine. So you most likely will find histamine in fermented foods. So you know how kefir, kimchi, kombucha, vinegars, yogurt, they're meant to be health foods and very good for us. But for some people who have a really big burden of inflammation, which we will unpack more, histamine can be a problem, okay? And things like your canned foods, your canned sardines. So just be aware that your histamine load can increase. And already if your body is producing all this histamine, and you got more histamine from the food, so the symptoms are only going to get worse, okay? So one of my clients, seasonings, that's your soya sauce, your oyster sauce, your coconut aminos. So a lot of Asian cooking has a lot of histamine. So when one of my clients reduced the seasonings, that's when her headaches disappeared. For some people who have a high inflammatory load, it can be a big contributor to signs and symptoms. Okay? So the other food triggers that you may or may not be familiar with, gluten. So the way that we actually eat nowadays is so different from our ancestors. It's been farmed, it's been geneticized, and so it's hard to actually, recognize compared to the olden days. For some people, that can be a problem and harder to digest. So that's why there's gluten sensitivity. Okay. So we've learned about anaphylactic reaction where it's an emergency. So there's 8 different foods. Gluten is one of them, and so is dairy. That's what we're talking about today. So it can cause serious reactions in some people. Okay. So dairy, we know it's in cheeses and in milk as well. So some people can't actually tolerate that. And for dairy, it could be either the protein, which is the casein, or the sugar part of the dairy, which is lactose. So even if you drink lactose-free milk, some people might be intolerant to the casein, which is still in lactose-free milk. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. So now to the interesting part, oxalates. Okay. Has anyone come across oxalates before this?
Not this much.
Yeah.
No, I haven't really heard, but we lost that. Not more than the rhubarb.
Yes. So I think So with oxalate, we know that in medicine, people can get kidney stones. And if anybody's experienced kidney stones, it's the worst case. You even have to use machinery to actually get rid of it if it's really bad. And with the whole risk of recurrence, is high, 30-50%. The rate of kidney stone in Australia is up to 8%. So out of 8% of people can have kidney stones. And there's many different stones, but the most common one is calcium oxalate. And so for most people, they respond well to a low oxalate diet. And it's about 30 to 50 milligrams of oxalate. And so with oxalate, the problem is it can cause inflammation and pain. So it has also been associated with heart disease. It's like sudden cardiac death and metabolic disorders. So we've learned about metabolism, how we actually convert food to energy. So conditions which is associated with metabolism, the trifecta, dysregulated blood pressure, cholesterol, and sugar control can contribute to those disorders as well. Interestingly, recurrent urinary tract infections. And there is a group called lowoxalate.org where they found that in kids with autism going on a low oxalate diet has made a big difference to their behaviors. So we're still learning a lot about oxalate and histamine. The jury is out about the chicken and egg, like what caused the chronic condition. Is it the food we eat or the underlying inflammation? Which we can discuss next. And if you imagine, if we know that oxalate can actually cause problems in the kidney and it can cause kidney damage, can you imagine where else in the body you can get oxalates? So it can deposit in the bone, in the lungs, the spleen, and the thyroid. Yeah. So on my podcast, The Enlightened Pharmacist, I interviewed Sally Norton. She's a nutritionist, and she had over 10 years of conditions. And one of the things she had was genital pain. So she found the Walwer Pain Foundation. And they've done this for over 20 years, where they found that a low oxalate diet helped women in terms of that stinging sensation. So if it's oxalate, it could make a difference. So by now you'll be thinking, what the heck does the oxalate come from, eh? All right, let me tell you. So vegetables, because it's mostly in plants, beets, and you're right, rhubarb, chard, Swiss chard, and spinach. So spinach is one of the worst offenders. One leaf has about 5 milligrams. So I don't know whether you've heard about one of the Hemsworth brothers. He went vegetarian when he found a new girlfriend, and he was in this big sort of health kick, and he had spinach smoothies for a couple of days. And a young man like that, he developed kidney stone. Okay? Yep. And I'm sorry, my chocolate lover friend. Chocolate is also got oxalate, but it's not too much. So the good thing is with these food triggers, it's not an anaphylactic reaction. It's not an all or nothing. So again, it's about knowing, what you're eating, having awareness, how much your body can tolerate, and consistently choosing foods that nourish and fits your genetics and your predisposition. Okay? So nuts, if you're a nut lover, one of the worst offenders is almonds and peanuts. So that's your peanut butter. And who doesn't like peanut butter? Okay? Exactly right. So in Asian cuisine, we use peanuts in almost everything. Vietnamese, Malaysian, Indonesian, all Asian
use peanut.
Even peanut oil. Exactly right. And if you're a egg snack eater like myself, you find that all the chips, your potato, banana, any chips, plantain, sweet potatoes,
With potato and one.
chips, when they deep fried, and less snacks, So the whole banana would have less. So if you Google low oxalate diet, you'll find a whole list. And there's variation because the soil content and the season and how they actually farm the product as well. So you can find you find a variation when you actually do a Google search on low oxalate. So what it is about how much your body can tolerate. So I was a potato chip addict. So once you start, I couldn't stop. Okay. So I hope this story will help, because what happened was, as a pharmacist, I went to a health coach, and so they asked me some questions. So we know that questions are very powerful. So one of the questions was, what did you get from your potato chip? So growing up in Malaysia, my grandparents, they looked after me at preschool because my parents were in rural and remote Malaysia. So they would pick me up, and there's this roti man, which is the bread man. He'll go on his motorbike and he'll honk, and then everyone in the neighborhood knows he's in town. So my grandmother would buy the weekly bread, but she also buy me a snack. So my little 5-year-old must have put 2 and 2 together. Love means snack. So it's my comfort food. So a great question to ask is, what do you get out of whatever food that you crave? And the second question is, if you continue like this, how will this serve you? Yeah. So me, I have a history of fatty liver disease, and the more fat I have, it's going to again destroy my liver, and it won't be able to function, and it's a very vital organ. So if I continue like this, it would not serve me at all, right? And the third question is, so what's a better, safer alternative? Okay, so I enjoy music, so I could learn to play the ukulele, which is a small guitar, or I could ring my friends and have a good chat. Do you enjoy music, Phil?
Yeah.
So Phil is interested in getting a trumpet. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, beautiful. So we found a better, safer alternative to peanuts for Phil. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be food. So whatever fills the gap, that comfort, feeling of joy. Yeah.
But my safe food is carrots.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's unpack inflammation, because food triggers is just a small picture in the bigger picture. So inflammation is that forest fire that goes out of control, and there are many risk factors to that. Okay, so on my podcast, I interviewed guests who transform their own health and others. So there's a holistic dentist, David Cowhick. So dental health is very important because it's the entry point for pathogens or bed bugs. So if you have bad teeth, there's a high chance that you're going to have problems because it's the first point of entry. Okay. If you have any nutrient deficiencies, so I've interviewed Professor Julia Ruckledge. She's a psychologist in the University of Canterbury, and she's found randomized control trials where they gave high strength, broad spectrum multivitamins to kids and found more calm kids in terms of behavior disorders in ADHD and autism. So are our kids getting sick because they are nutrient deficient? So all these gaps in nutrients can increase the burden of inflammation. So can infection. So we've had the COVID, so that's a big virus. And we know how it increases inflammation. There's also mold. So we've had water damage in a lot of places, from Lismore to Port Macquarie to Queensland. So it's being aware of your different burdens of inflammation and unpacking it. And obviously we've talked about insulin resistance, when you have so much sugar that the pancreas goes on strike. We've talked about mitochondria, how when also you have 24/7 feeding, it's overwork and overstress, and then what does it do? It goes on strike, and this is an important cell because it converts your food to energy, and it's been associated with Dr. Matthew Phillips' work with brain disorders like Parkinson's disease, dementia, and brain cancer. Okay, and obesity is a big problem, and we have to put poor sleep as well, because we know it's an important indicator of good health. I can always tell the quality of my clients' health by finding out the quality of their sleep. Okay? And obviously a sedentary lifestyle, if you don't use it, you lose it. Stress. So we haven't talked about stress. So stress chemistry is real. It increases your inflammation, as well as toxins in the background, whether it's from pesticides or pollution or additives that we get in processed foods. So every individual is different and has a different burden of inflammation. We're not sure whether it's the chicken or egg, but we've had things like leaky gut because of the physical damage that it happens in our lining. We don't know the food intolerances that we've discussed. Is it the whole burden of inflammation? And then you have all these food intolerances. So again, chicken and egg. Leaky brain, because if you have things escape your stomach and it goes into your blood-brain barrier, and they have studies to show brain fog and fatigue can happen as well if you have leaky gut. And obviously the immune disorders, worst case scenario, your rheumatoid arthritis, endometriosis, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, inflammatory bowel disease, psoriasis, Sjogren's. All these conditions could be the tip of the iceberg. And when we unpack it, there's all this burden of inflammation. Depends on every individual's risk factors. And then you have the multi-system disorders, when it's the extreme part of the equation, where you have chronic fatigue syndrome, multiple sclerosis, And they've also had, like in kids, multi-system inflammatory syndrome as well. So when there's too much inflammation, you have a body that's dysfunctional. So food triggers could be part of the equation. It could be a chicken and egg, but we can do something about it by looking at our, by working with our foods and understanding our baseline. And that's why the health questionnaire is a good starting point. So I'll share with you the resources I use for my client as well. But I was going to tell you about Jenny. So Jenny is 58 years old, and she came to see me with chronic fatigue, skin rashes, and bloating. So when we identified her food triggers, so we unpacked that, but we used the chronometer app. My clients get the paid app, and we can go and deep down into the micronutrient level. So from the medical symptoms questionnaire, there was a lot of histamine. So when we reduced the histamine for 2 weeks, her symptoms reduced. So for her, it was histamine. And in 2 months' time, she felt like her old self again. Yeah. So it can be that simple. Health can be simple if you know what to look out for. And the reason people fail is that they don't measure what they wish to control. Yeah. If you don't know where your starting point is, how do you know whether you are 5 steps forwards or 10 steps backwards? Yeah. All right, we're nearly there. So these are the resources. So I've got my website, pharmacistedit.com. So I do. Okay. So I'll send you a link if you like. You've got email addresses. So anybody wants to reach out to me can get onto my website. My email address, Therese, Therese @pharmacistedit.com. If you get stuck. So Teddy K. Norton has an oxalate guide. When you actually subscribe to it, she sends you a 101 on oxalate toxicity. And I will be announcing when my podcast with her is launched. It's probably in the next couple of weeks. She's wrote a book called Toxic Superfoods, because you wouldn't think a healthy lifestyle like spinach, nut milk,
Spinach. Never would say and wasn't so forget.
Yeah. So remember, it could be because of your inflammatory burden and inflammatory load that some people are worse off than others because their burden is so high. Yeah. So it's about individualizing like the food triggers to your individual circumstances. So also there's a really good beginner's guide from FX Medicine, which is an Australian practitioner's sort of website, but I think it's got a good beginner's guide because I think a lot of my community, they are very educated and they know how to optimize their health. And I've got a glucose goddess, her science-based like information there as well. And the food tracker that I recommend is Chronometer. It's a Chronometer app. Chronometer. Yep. Chronometer. Yep. Okay. So because you all lasted the whole day, really, you spent this time with me, I like to offer you my Food Triggers e-guide. It's a guide that I actually wrote for my clients in terms of the different food classes, what they are, and how to actually eliminate, because you don't want to do an elimination diet for far too long, because the aim of the game is to have as much diversity. So I put down a triggers guide that you can actually access. I'm very happy to share with you. So it's the triggers guide. It tells you how to actually reduce it. It has a shopping list and a meal plan as well, if you want to do it yourself. Okay, so this, I think I forgot to actually mention that I'm not a medical practitioner, but what I do as a pharmacist and a health coach complements what the medicals do, but should not replace medical advice and treatment. So always consult your health practitioner for medical advice and treatment. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. Also, because there's no one-size-fits-all diet, you can also have a 30 minutes personalized health chat with me so that we can have a look in your individual circumstances of all the 24 strategies I have. What else will actually work for you as well? Because I am committed to finding my 10,000 individuals, it is really hard to find people who want to do preventive health. I have to start somewhere, so I'm looking for volunteers. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. I hope that you learn a lot. And I'd love to get your feedback. So send it to Therese @pharmacistedit.com and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes.
How I lose of quality.
Yes.
is different.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
collagen
Yes.
supplements.
Yes.
Is there anything that works, or is it a waste of money?
Some people actually, highlight it. What are you using it for?
Skin turn. Yeah, that's wrinkles. With
100%, because with protein, it's the building block of all these cellular structures. So you need enough, and collagen is a type of protein. It is another form of collagen is gelatin, and it's easier to digest, and I think it's a bit cheaper as well. So I normally because with gelatin, it's a great product that it's good for weight control because it makes you feel full, and it's a bit like jelly, so it's quite palatable, and it's cheaper than collagen. So it's something that you might want to explore of something for skin. So remember that the inflammatory burden, there's a lot of things that contribute to it. So the detoxification when you sleep, so the beauty sleep thing, is real. Yeah, and the stress chemistry, it can cause inflammation. So look at stress, sleep, and gelatin. I think the more processed it is, more expensive it is. You try to get it something that's more, that's just less processed and that's affordable and practical.
Okay, so gelatin, animal based?
Yes, that's right. Because you are vegetarian.
No.
Okay. So because it's type of protein, and you're trying to get more, like if you're not vegetarian, I would choose gelatin because it's got more essential amino acids than agar or any of the other non-meat products. So again, we're trying to get increased protein. We know how hard it is to add protein. So this is one way you can actually add a bit more protein to your diet.
And because that's the website you advised,
Yeah.
They have bestsellers. Call it blog. Do they sell gelatin as well? Where do I?
So Gelatin Health, Gelatin Health, is one that I've used myself. So grass-fed is probably best, and obviously Australia has got high quality beef, and I think it's halal as well. Yeah, so that's a good one, Gelatin Health. And a recipe. I'm writing a recipe book, and one of the things we're trying to again help, because it's actually a weight loss, because it keeps you feel full as well. Because it is a protein. If you add pomegranate juice, it's an antioxidant, and then you get an extra sort of layer to it as well. You know how we like to stack things? Like we have our water, we spike it up with Ulla's beautiful herbs in the garden. So same thing with the gelatin as well. You add your pomegranate juice, and then you get the extra layer. It's all about stacking.
Just a question.
Yes.
Is there like a website, how food is so important, people come up with all these recipes and MasterChef, all this, but these foods are unhealthy. Do they have like a crowd or people that, promote like healthy?
I'm sure there is, right? Like there should be. Yeah.
High protein food,
Yeah.
but also healthy.
Yeah. I think starting with protein, high protein, and getting that 30 grams is good, like because that's how our building blocks for the cells. And you need to add the extra layer to the individual, whether they have food triggers or sensitivities. So that's why I think there's no one size fits all approach. So I'm hoping to do one where it's more for if somebody wants to do a DIY or do it yourself, sort of eliminating like these food triggers, how to do it, and like you only do it for 2 weeks, and then you reintroduce a list of them every 4 days to ensure that you any delayed reaction you can pick it up as well, and you keep a diary. So that's why I use for my clients, I give them a paid chronometer app, and then we can track everything, and I can actually see as well what they actually eating. So I think it's about tracking, and it's about individualizing, and it's about personalizing. So even if you have a recipe book, you still have to personalize it.
Sorry to interrupt. You mentioned before that you into the Mediterranean diet,
Yes.
which is seafood and fish, right?
Yes.
But isn't
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So heavy metal is a problem.
and fish's information.
Yeah, because anything that's processed, the bacteria will degrade the food and release histamine. So
Histamine.
so for some people, too much histamine can cause those symptoms. But remember, we're thinking chicken and egg and inflammatory and the burden. So it depends on your baseline. So tracking is a good way to understand where you're at, and it gives you, an update on your progress, whether you are...
Fresh is best.
Love it. Fresh is the best.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. So Chris highlighted, it's important, with seafood, it can, there's lots of toxins, like heavy metals, and you want to choose fish, at the bottom of the food chain, like sardines and, cruel.
I don't know where this in the 60s. And more histamines.
Exactly. So, when it's more processed, there's a higher chance that it's been longer on the shelf and the bacteria have more time. So one strategy that I also teach my clients, that if you have leftovers, you actually straight away put it in the freezer, because freezing the food stops the histamine degradation process. So that's one tip if you want to reduce histamine excess.
We're cool and watches webinars about
Who do you listen to?
Do you know about acne?
Yes.
Yes, I'm a member of acne, and they...
So Australian College of Environment and Nutritional Medicine. Wonderful. What's your background, Ulla? Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So this is something that I wasn't taught in pharmacy school.
No.
Yeah, it's very interesting about the gut though. And so now I've got 3 jugs, and then the water sits in there for at least 22 hours. So the chlorine.
Water is so important.
Yeah, you do it for your fish, but not for yourself.
I just drink it. I need to take water from the fat or boil it. And it's like, it's bad.
And what did you notice when you had this filtration system?
Different.
So chemical sensitivities and the water that we drink, we think it looks clear, it should be healthy. And we were talking about hydration, but you just highlighted something really important, the type of water we drink as well. I've had clients where we can tolerate pure AU, which is all the toxins have been removed, and it's more palatable. And some people can't drink water because it's so toxic and they react to it. So the fact that you've got a filtered process means that you're getting rid of the nasties.
The chlorine, it's got to kill the gut bacteria, isn't it?
Oh, I cut bacteria.
Yeah, sometimes you get it good one thinking about it. Sometimes you get in a bath and you can smell the chlorine there. And look, like that is a good difference. And I've over here, hell, but I'm saying, it's very rare we drink, tap water now. Or even when I go to genocide at my water and
So you're saying you don't drink the water, you got to leave it out for a day or 2 days?
Well, 12 hours. The chlorine evaporates down it.
You have to open it, like vent it?
It could be vented to the air. Whereas it's like a swimming pool. If you
the filter doesn't take the chlorine out, like a filtration.
You don't know.
Or if you drink filtered water, maybe it depends on the filter. I assume.
Well, I don't think you'll filter it that well. But if you leave it out, I know that it's good for the fish. They won't be hard again.
And it's the same.
Because they die.
Oh, you are.
If you put the chlorine water in straight away, they will.
So you look after your fish better than yourself. Can I ask you, Ulla, was there any other strategies that you would add to our discussion today that you thought that could really make a difference to health?
Well, I just listened. Well, I haven't listened to many of them, but they are on. I need to go through. There was just the other week a 6-day summit about how you rewire your brain. And what they talked about there was the importance of breathing, that I called baths, which I had been, so when we were on before, Phyllis always advocated for cold showers, and he swears that going down having a swim every day keeps him healthy. And now I think the research are starting to show that corn
Adds to that, I think I read somewhere that those fighters, the UFC fighters, because they go and they brawl each other. Yeah. And after the brawl, they go in the ice bath to quick recover.
It's so funny because I'm from Sweden, and when I was maybe in my late teens was the first time that I heard about it. The kind of middle-aged men who go into the sauna, and then they break up the ice. The sauna is next to a lake, and they break up the ice. So they have a sauna, and then they go to the water, jump into the ice-cold water, and then back into the sauna. And they always swore about, how it kept them healthy. And no, I think there is some evidence.
I think a lot of our pores, a lot of the dirty people, they get stuck.
Yeah.
Without the sauna, and without the ice bath, it might leach out easier. It happens.
So eliminate toxins, and one way is sweating. I like the idea of heat and cold therapy. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Illness harvest.
And what do you feel after, when you say great, what do you mean by that?
I just feel, I feel it's good for my muscles after playing tennis for And just sort of vitalizes me, and it's like feeling. Even the cold shower, like having a shower in the cold one. Ready to feel to wake up. You're not cold.
So that's like biohacking 101. So I think the NS1 experience, it counts. So when NS1, we talk about in science, when you do the experiment on one person and it's yourself, and if it works, who can argue with that?
No, it's that. It's quite worth.
It's been such a great discussion.
It also be that, like, the air.
In Port Macquarie, then Sydney, for sure.
Got the beauty of the beaches and the wild animals, air, it makes you feel like living. Whereas if you're in like a dungeon or some stingy place, you feel upset.
Well, I have been to Sydney, and because I'm a asthmatic, and after a couple of days, I blind my eyes with black ears.
In Sydney?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, that's, yeah.
Well, my history is much history.
This is my brother in the industry.
Yeah. Could it be the, that fertilizer? I see people spray all the time. They spray. The council people that keep spraying it, could be, like, I don't know why, but I'm trying to kill the weeds.
Yeah.
But only humans are around,
Yeah.
They have a big tank of like a vehicle, spray it, it's right. Someone's going to get sick. And
What an amazing discussion. We've just explored so many things from our body to the environment and the food we eat. Thank you so much for your time on this beautiful Sunday. I really enjoyed spending the time with you, and I wish you the very best. Thank you, those at home as well. You've been fabulous in your patience, and I wish you the very best of health.